So the key is I've got an aging parent and the following is happening, right? So maybe their memory's starting to go, maybe some of the physical issues are starting to crop up. They've got some form of illness. Maybe they've broken a bone or two. Maybe it's a hip, a shoulder, an arm, a leg, something. They've fallen down the stairs or in the kitchen or slipped on something in the kitchen or burned themselves on the stove. I'm listing everything that people have told me recently. Or they've gotten locked out of the home, or recently I heard this one, they've taken all their clothes off and run through the neighborhood. Okay, that's also one that I've recently heard. So what do we do about this? Well, I got my notes here, so let's go through them one by one. Welcome to What's Your Problem? I am your host, Scot Ferrell. Thanks so much for joining me today. Exciting topic. Well, it's not really exciting, but it's something we have to cover because the name of this is What's Your Problem? Now, if you're my age or maybe a little younger or positively older, this topic today is going to be something you're going to want to hear. Now, I've got my trusty notes here, and I want to read the topic perfectly so I don't mess this up. I have an aging parent who's difficult. What do I do? Okay. So that's our topic, aging parents and they're difficult. Imagine that. You've got a parent who's been independent their whole lives since they've been a toddler, and now they don't want to listen to somebody else tell them what to do. Or they don't want to listen to a doctor, or they don't want to do what you tell them to do, or they don't want to give up their driver's license, or they don't want to go live somewhere where people can take care of them. Chances are if you're my age or thereabouts, you're having that happen to you right now. We can honestly say that I've been through it. My wife's currently having to deal with some of these things. And it's something, if we're fortunate, we'll be around long enough with our parents to have to deal with it. Now, not everybody's this way, but after talking to some folks recently and being around folks, talking to them about their parents, and especially people my age, getting closer to 60, it seems to be a popular topic. And the key is they always ask me, Scott, here's what's going on in my life. How do I handle it? So we're going to look at this very ways, right? So we're going to look over the emotional part, spiritual part, physical part, social part, societal part. We're going to cover just about every part you can. So the key is I've got an aging parent and the following is happening, right? So maybe their memory's starting to go, maybe some of the physical issues are starting to crop up. They've got some form of illness. Maybe they've broken a bone or two. Maybe it's a hip, a shoulder, an arm, a leg, something. They've fallen down the stairs or in the kitchen or slipped on something in the kitchen or burned themselves on the stove. I'm listing everything that people have told me recently. Or they've gotten locked out of the home, or recently I heard this one, they've taken all their clothes off and run through the neighborhood. Okay, that's also one that I've recently heard. So what do we do about this? Well, I got my notes here, so let's go through them one by one. What do you do? Well, let's look at it from an emotional standpoint first, before I get to the practical stuff. Yeah, it's difficult. It really is. We see all these things on social media where it's the mom and dad holding the little girl's hand when she's little, and then at the end it's mom and dad are stooped over and the little girl's holding theirs, right? Is it a fact? Yeah, hopefully you'll be old enough to do that. Now, I lost my mom and dad at early ages. My mom and dad were in their late 50s when both of them passed. So I didn't go through this. Now, I did with grandparents, but not with my own mom and dad. Now, I've got friends that are going through this currently with their own moms and dads, and my father-in-law, soon to be 89, so varying issues here. But from an emotional standpoint, it takes a toll on you because we remember our moms and dads as being our caretakers, the ones that took care of us, the Christmases. We got a Christmas tree behind us right now. So you really relive the Christmas morning and the Thanksgiving and the Halloweens and the 4th of Julys and the birthdays and the athletics and everything you did with your mom and dad and the vacations. Well, now it's switched to where they're no longer the caretaker of you, and emotionally, a lot of people have trouble adjusting. There's a lot of tears, there's anger, there's frustration, there's disappointment, there's depression. All of these things are normal because you're watching your mom and dad age, and so many of us don't get to age gracefully. Go by any rest home. I spend a lot of time in rest homes. I'm a pastor. I have to go by and pray with people. You name it, I get to do it as a pastor. But I spend more time talking to the families than I do the actual people that are elderly. And it's the depression, the frustration, the being tired, don't sleep, There's always something going on. I'm frustrated that I didn't get to say what I needed to say. Now they have dementia, they don't know who I am. Whatever the issue is, emotionally, it's going to take a toll on you. Emotionally, some days you're just going to be so frustrated you don't know what to do. You don't have anyone to talk to about it. You don't know where the end's going to come. You don't know how long it's going to take. So cut yourself some slack. It's okay to be angry every now and then. It's okay to be frustrated. Yeah, you're going to get a little down. I mean, why wouldn't you? Because you remember mom and dad as being healthy and vibrant and loving you and doing things with you and spending all the time with you. And you remember all the great times. You can make these times great too. It's just not the same anymore. So emotionally cut yourself some slack. So let's look at the spiritual side of this. Well, the great thing is, as a pastor too, again, there's one qualification to go to heaven, right? Know Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. If you got that, you're going to heaven. So the great thing is, if you're a believer, you'll see him again. You'll spend eternity with him. So we need to focus on that especially. Plus, there's healing power in the Holy Spirit, man. I've seen more people healed of more things. Look at me. I was terminally ill. I ain't dead. I'm still here. The Holy Spirit healed everything wrong with me. Now, I still have a little issue with my eyes and the lights, but outside of that, I'm all good. Now, I wear these outside and I wear these when we're filming. Okay, I wear them all the time, except at night inside my own home because the light's low. But I still do that. But everything else is good. So we get all these things out. We have to look at the spiritual practicality of this. And we have to look at, yeah, our parents do get older. But if they're going to heaven, then we're just going to spend eternity with them anyway. So look at it that way. All right, now let's get to the practical. Practical is what you want to know anyway, right? So what do you do? Well, the great thing is if you have siblings, this is way easier. You can divide up the responsibilities because it really is true what they say on commercials. You get out of diapers to go back to diapers from what a lot of the commercials say, but is it true? So many seniors now are in diapers. It's funny to look back because the people that were around putting us, we were the first generation that did not have to use cloth diapers, even though my family did with me. Now we have disposables, right? We didn't have those. Now we're putting our parents in disposables. So it's a whole different setup, makeup, but it's not easy. But practicality is, let's look at this. I'm gonna look at your side and their side. So I'll tell you what, let me start with your side and then we'll go back to their side. Your side, you've got your life. Chances are you've got kids. Chances are you've got grandkids now. You've got a job probably. You're doing an 8 to 5, or if you're like us, you're doing 8 to 8. And then you have to turn around and take care of a elderly child, your parents. And then you have to figure out when you're going to sleep, when you're going to get your laundry done, when you're going to get your things done, when you're going to cook for your spouse. I do all the cooking in our house, so it's me cooking for my wife. My wife can't cook. So we divide up responsibilities. Well, how do you do that? Put a job board up, man. We have a whiteboard that we keep in our home, 6x6 whiteboard. We just write out the responsibilities that each person has to have to do. It's no different than having a sales meeting on Monday. What's everybody's responsibility this week? What's everybody's task? We assign task and time. That way, no one person's inundated with too much to do. We understand everybody has a job, everybody has a family, everybody has kids. Chances are they have grandkids. And then on top of those things, they have civic duties, they have church. On top of those things, they have more things. And then we add on an elderly parent who's hard to get along with. It's very difficult, but if you'll schedule it out, it's not too difficult for one person. Now, I'm coming across as if you're not an only child. Why? Because I'm not an only child, my wife's not an only child. Most of the people that I spoke with this past week had some form of sibling, 1 or 2 or 3, some had 4, and they just divided up one day. So we have 7 days a week, and we divide up, so if there's 2 of us, that's 3.5 days, or 4, and then 3, and then we get someone in-home health care to do some of those things. So you'll normally have rotating shifts with that, and then you have to fill in. Now, what do you normally fill in? You fill in for holidays. I know with my in-laws, my mother-in-law was sick over Christmas, Thanksgiving and Christmas, she was dying. So we had hospice. Well, then hospice went on hiatus. We had about a 2-week period there where we had to pick up slack. So my brother-in-law was way out of town, so it was my wife and I, and we did everything. We understood what we had to do. We understood it would be 2 weeks, and we just did the job. And then she passed right before New Year's. So we understood what our task was. We understood what the responsibility was. We took the feeling off the equation because it's our job. We knew we had to do it, and we just did it. So if you sit down with your family, just like a sales meeting, understand the task at hand, you know you've got to do these things, you know there's no one else to do them, you divvy them up on what everyone's got to get done, how it's got to get done, what time it's got to get done, how many appointments have to be done, which doctor you have to go see, whatever it is. You do it without emotion because it's just a task and it's just a job, and you just do it. See, it sounds easy. Well, it is. If you'll take the emotion out of the equation for a second and understand that it's your responsibility, nobody else is going to do it for you. It's got to get done. Complaining about it's not going to do any good anyway. And then if you just do it, it's not forever. Your mom and dad, if we really reflect on this, I'm a parent, we're second marriage. My wife's a parent, we're both parents. We know what it's like not to sleep with our kids. We know what it's like to be up all night with a sick child. We know what it's like to change diapers. I know what it's like to be thrown up on, pooped on, peed on, you name it, snotted all over, and it's never at a convenient time. And normally you have throw up all over your shirt on the way to a sales meeting as you're dropping the child off, okay? How many times have I gone into something with something all over my jacket, right? It's no different with your mom and dad. They did it for you or they did it for us. It's our job to do it for them. It's just about love. Is it easy? No. Is it going to be fun? No. Are we going to enjoy it? Normally, no. But it's part of life. There's no way around it a lot of times, and it's got to be done. Now, let's leave us for a second in our responsibility, and let's get to our parent who's hard to get along with. All right. So let's pick up where I was going off. They've taken care of you. They've changed all your diapers. They've seen you through all the illnesses. They've taken care of your kids. They've seen you through all the school, all the college, every sniffle and cough and everything they've seen you through. And now they don't want you taking care of them. And they're definitely not going to listen to you telling them what to do, right? And then when you take them to the doctor and they don't want to listen to the doctor, and then they don't want to give up their driver's license, even though they've almost run over people on the sidewalk, they've backed over the cat, they've hit all the garbage cans in the driveway, and they've backed into the garage door. Got it. On top of, they don't want anybody in their house. They don't want anybody following around on them. Even though they can't take care of themselves, even though they set the kitchen on fire, they still don't want to listen. Okay. Well, then look back the way they may have handled you when you were a teenager. What do we normally do with teenagers? Well, we'll say, at least this is how we handled our son. All right, if you do it, you've got to take the consequence for it. I'm not going to bail you out. So if you do X in the classroom, you receive the punishment for it. It's like with our son liked to make money. So our discipline for my son was, if he was late, he got fined. Okay, I was a high school coach, and what do you do to a player who's late, or what would you do to an employee? Well, if you can't clock in, then you don't get paid. So he had to pay his mom X amount of dollars for every minute he's late. He was only late once. Our son likes money, so that was a good way to handle that. No raised voices, nothing. All right, so let's look at your parent. Your parent doesn't want an in-home health care person, okay? All right. Doesn't want anybody to cook for them, okay? Says they don't need rehab. Maybe they just broke a hip or an ankle, a leg, or an arm, okay? All right, so what you're telling me is you don't want any help, even though you're up in age, you're not mobile, you really can't cook, you can't go buy your own groceries, but you're telling me that you don't want any help, and you definitely don't want my help, right? Okay. What will we tell our teenager? All right, you're going to have to live with it, right? If you're making an adult decision, you're going to have to live with the adult consequences, right? Same thing with parents. See, there's nothing you can do. You cannot tell someone what to do if they don't want to do it. You can't make someone do something they don't want to do. It's like I tell married couples all the time. People go, can you change my spouse? No, neither can you. People have to want to change. If your parents do not want any of your help, any external help, any help from the nurse, any help from the chef or the cook or whoever's coming in, then there's nothing you can do about it. So what do you have to do? Well, unfortunately, and this is the tough part, this is why you have to leave emotion out of this. You can't rescue them because they don't want to be rescued. You can't intervene because they don't want your help, and all they're going to do is get mad at you and start yelling. You have to let them suffer the consequences. Now, hopefully, this is what happens. Normally happens with teenagers. They'll come and go, and it's got to be their idea because we all know how we like to be told what to do. Oh, by the way, I was thinking, this is what normally happens. They'll fall or they'll drop something or they'll set the stove on fire or something. It's not life-threatening and we don't have to call the police or the fire department. And then they'll go, I had this idea. Why don't we get somebody to come in the home maybe once a day or 3 times a week and help me? I know, before you get angry and start yelling and all that stuff. It's the exact same thing that you, the doctor, the in-home healthcare people, and everybody else in the medical team had decided that needed to be done 6 months prior, right? And you had been over it with them, and you went into this long idea in the story, and you planned it all out, and they said no. Oh, now, 3 months later, they're like, I had this idea. I think I need some help. Maybe I need some help with physical therapy. Maybe I need somebody to take me to the doctor's appointment. Maybe I need somebody to cook for me. Maybe I need some help around the house. Maybe I need some help with, see where I'm going with this? See, you can't be the one that makes them do it. They got to make them do it. They have to decide, they have to choose, they have to decide that this is going to be what they want to do or it ain't going to fly. I can't tell you how many people call me and go, you wouldn't believe. No, I would believe. I would believe. I did it with my dad. My dad, I watched my dad die very slowly. Now, hospice was great with my father. I have nothing but great things to say about hospice, the way they worked with my dad. But my dad was smart. My dad said, I need help. Okay. I never had to fight my dad over not needing help. Everybody was there for him. So we never had to fight over that. But I know a lot of people that do, and I know it can get angry, frustrating quickly. I got it. But remember this. How would you feel if, switch places, right? How would you feel? You've been independent your whole life. You fall in the home, you're in your late 80s, early 90s, and now everybody's telling you that you can't do what you used to do 3 months earlier, and now you can't be alone, and now you can't take care of yourself, and now you can't drive, and they've given you this whole list of things you can't do now. What would you think? Yeah. Exactly. You'd be frustrated, you'd be angry, you'd start yelling at people, right? So cut them some slack, but at the same time, let them know you're there, you love them, but they're going to have to come up with this idea. I've yet to see somebody, now there's one in it, and there's people that decide never to do this, but most people eventually say, hey man, I need some help. So hopefully you can get somebody in that home 3 days a week, maybe 5 days a week, have some overnight help so you don't have to do it all. The thing is, you got to take some time away. You got to take some breaks. You've got to take yourself out of the equation. You have to distance yourself emotionally. I know it sounds easy the way I'm saying it, right? I realize that I'm not you and I'm not emotionally invested in your family, but I had my own. So I've had to do this. Everything I'm talking about right now, I've had to do. But if you'll do it the way I've asked you to do it, now is this a fix all to everything? No, but this is a start. But you got to make sure that everybody's on the same page. The patient may not be, but everybody else, all externals have to be on the same page. You have to understand what the objective is. And most of the time, its objective is to get them to the end of their life the best way you can. The most loving way, the most caring way that you can get there, and everybody's going to be on the same page to get there. All right, so hopefully this helped. Hopefully, if you don't personally have this problem, you can give this video to someone who does, and I know I probably talk to a person my age every single month that has this issue. All right, so if you have any questions, about this and you want to send me an email, send it to problem@wyppodcast.com. You can also go by our website, wyppodcast.com. Also, hit subscribe, so do that so you can keep up with all of our videos. We've got quite a few on the website now and on YouTube. But let me know if you have any questions, and if you know somebody that has this issue. Hey man, don't keep it yourself. Go ahead and send it to them, and maybe we can be a bridge for them to get their relative to the end of life the best way possible, and get everybody on the same page so everybody's in agreement on how to proceed. All right, I'm Scot Ferrell. Thanks so much for spending a little time with me, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Sweet and slow